Hello everyone, welcome to Sam's Summaries. This episode is a deep dive discussion into Sam Fury's summary of Chapter 13 from the book Models by Mark Manson. It has been created with the help of AI. The chapter is titled The Dating Process. You can read the original post at samfury.com.
Right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into Mark Manson's models to see what we can learn about dating.
Right.
So we've got our source material right here.
Yep.
We're going to be pulling out the most useful advice for you guys.
Exactly.
So no matter what your experience level is with dating, hopefully we can kind of help you guys out.
Yeah, absolutely. Think of us as your dating Sherpas,
Yeah.
guiding you to that second date.
Ooh, I like
And beyond,
Yeah.
we're going to break down Mark's approach to dating step by step.
Okay.
From that initial encounter, all the way to that all-important first date.
Yeah.
And then we're going to dive into how to sidestep some of those common dating pitfalls.
Yeah.
And offer some surprisingly practical advice
Right.
that you won't find in your typical, dating advice column.
Okay, so to get started,
Yeah.
Manson lays out a pretty clear process for dating.
Mm-hmm.
So he says you meet someone.
Right.
Then you get their contact info.
Yes.
You have some conversations.
Yeah. Initial conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
And then eventually the date.
Hopefully.
Right. And then that whole cycle can kind of repeat itself.
Exactly.
Until you either fizzle out or hopefully go on to something more substantial.
Right. And that's actually one of the really cool things that I liked about models.
Okay.
Is this emphasis on attracting women who are genuinely interested in you from the start. So you're really minimizing those chances of running into that dreaded flake.
Oh, yeah, the flake.
The flake. I think we've all encountered those.
Yes, we all have.
At some point.
Definitely.
Yeah. So how does Manson suggest handling those flaky situations?
Right, because I feel like I spend too much time trying to decipher, what their behavior means.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And trying to win them over or something.
Yeah, he's not a fan of that.
Okay.
He's very straightforward.
Okay.
He suggests a 3 strikes and you're out policy.
Okay, I like that.
You give them a second chance because, hey, things happen, right?
All right.
But if they flake 3 times, that's it.
Gotcha.
Move on.
Yeah.
You're valuing your time.
Respect.
Exactly. And recognizing that someone isn't reciprocating that respect.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you've met someone who is interested.
Right.
How do you actually set up that first date?
Yeah, so I really love how simple he keeps this, He just cuts through all the noise about texting frequency and waiting games and all this stuff.
Strategic waiting.
Yeah, he just cuts through all of it.
Yeah.
And it's all about that genuine connection.
Okay.
You ask out women you're actually interested in. You exchange numbers.
Yeah.
You send a casual text within 24 hours.
Okay.
And the goal is clear communication that leads to that face-to-face meeting.
Okay, so very straightforward.
Yeah.
Just cut to the chase.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so once you're ready to plan the date,
Okay.
Manson has some pretty specific advice
He does, yeah.
about timing and logistics.
Yes.
And he's not a fan of lunch dates?
No, he advises against lunch dates.
Why is that?
He suggests that they give off this platonic vibe.
Oh, okay.
So instead, he recommends opting for evenings, reserving around 3 hours for the date.
3 hours?
Yeah, ideally between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he's got a whole time frame.
Yeah, he does.
So no lunch dates.
Right.
6 to 9 p.m.
Yeah, that's the sweet spot.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So he believes that evening time slot creates a more relaxed and romantic atmosphere.
Okay.
And it allows for greater flexibility in terms of activities, which brings us to his next point.
Right. So ditch the old dinner and a movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Ditch the cliche for those first couple of dates.
Okay.
Go for something more active and engaging.
Okay, like what?
Like comedy clubs or walks in the park.
Oh, okay.
Dance classes, or even something like exploring some local tourist attractions.
Okay.
The goal is to create these shared experiences that encourage interaction and, as he puts it, playful flirting.
I like that. Okay. Now, he also recommends incorporating multiple activities
Yeah.
within those 3 hours.
Yes, the multiple dates in one approach.
So what do you think about that?
I love this strategy.
Okay.
It's brilliant.
Why?
For a few reasons, it allows for that graceful exit if things just aren't clicking.
Oh, okay.
But it also provides that option to extend the date if the connection is strong.
Gotcha.
So it's almost like you're creating this mini adventure together.
I like that.
You're maximizing the potential for shared memories.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you can kind of test the waters.
Exactly.
See if you want to keep going.
Right.
Okay, and then another point that Manson makes is that men should take the lead in the dating process.
Yes. Now, this is important to clarify what he means by that.
Right.
He's not advocating for being domineering or controlling.
Okay.
Instead, he emphasizes the importance of men taking charge of decision-making,
Okay.
confidently guiding the flow of the date.
Right. So not like dictating every detail, but just kind of like setting the tone.
Exactly. Yeah, creating a sense of direction,
Right.
not about overriding her preferences. It's more about being decisive and having that sense of leadership.
Gotcha. Okay. And then he also talks about like who pays for the date.
The age-old question.
Yeah. I feel like that's always so awkward.
It is.
Like who's supposed to pay?
Right. So he advocates for men taking on that responsibility.
Okay.
Unless the woman insists otherwise.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of traditional.
Yeah. It's rooted in those traditional dating norms.
Yeah. Which might resonate with some people and some people might not.
Exactly. And, this is where we kind of have to acknowledge that, this is based on Manson's perspective.
Yeah.
And we're just unpacking what's in his book.
Right.
Not necessarily endorsing every single point.
Absolutely.
So we're just trying to provide you with that information and those insights.
Right.
So you can make your own informed decisions.
Yeah. Make your own choices.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's say the date's going well. You guys are having a good time.
Okay.
Manson emphasizes the importance of moving beyond the small talk.
Yes.
And having more meaningful conversations.
More substantial conversations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you actually do that?
So he recommends, as the date progresses,
Yeah.
that you transition from those initial pleasantries to more of those deeper topics.
Okay.
And he recommends taking the lead by sharing about yourself first.
Okay. So being a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah, a little bit vulnerable, being open,
Yeah.
talking about your past experiences, your passions,
Okay.
things that genuinely make you tick.
Okay. I feel like this goes back to his point about men taking the lead.
It does.
But not in a controlling way.
Right.
But it's more like creating a space for that vulnerability.
Exactly. It's setting the tone.
Yeah.
Demonstrating that willingness to be open and authentic.
Yeah. And that can encourage the other person to do the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says that vulnerability can be contagious.
Okay.
So by sharing first, you might actually be encouraging the other person to share back.
Right. And it feels more balanced.
Yeah, it's a balanced exchange of sharing. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like an interrogation.
Yeah, like you're not just firing off all these questions at them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool about this approach is that it really encourages a deeper level of connection beyond just that surface level small talk.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about getting to know somebody
Right.
on a more genuine level.
All right, so we covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
So we talked about how to deal with flakes,
Right?
setting up the date, choosing the right activities, having those money conversations.
Awkward money conversations.
Yes, those.
Yeah.
What stands out to you from all of this?
For me, what really stands out is this emphasis on intentionality
Okay.
and authenticity throughout the entire dating process.
Okay.
It's about being genuine, respecting your own time,
Yeah.
and seeking connections with people who are truly interested.
Yeah, I think it's about being more mindful and present.
Absolutely.
Like you said, it's about being intentional.
Like it's not a game that you're trying to win.
Right.
It's about like actually finding connection
Exactly.
based on mutual respect and shared values.
Absolutely.
So it's a very different approach than a lot of the other advice out there.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah.
Much more holistic, I would say.
Right.
More well-rounded.
Yeah, and it makes me think about Manson's advice about, those moments when the date might not be going so well.
Yeah, those can be tricky.
I feel like his multiple dates in one strategy could be helpful there.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really smart way to kind of manage those expectations and avoid that potential for awkwardness.
Right, so instead of just like sitting there and hoping it gets better.
Exactly. You've got these built-in escape hatches.
Yeah, and I really like that it's not like you just ditch the date completely.
Right. It's not about giving up immediately. It's about recognizing that maybe this particular activity isn't the best fit.
Right.
But hey, maybe the next one will be.
Yeah, and if it's going really well,
then you just keep the momentum going.
Extend the date.
Exactly. You've got that option.
Yeah, and I like that it kind of creates this sense of like a mini adventure.
Oh, absolutely. It's like you're on this journey together.
Yeah, you're creating those shared memories.
And speaking of creating a more playful and memorable experience, I love how Manson suggests incorporating dancing.
Oh, yeah. He's a big fan of dancing.
He calls it the most sexual date activity there is.
Wow. Okay, so that's definitely...
It adds an interesting layer to the whole dynamic.
Definitely a different vibe than awkward dinner conversation.
Yeah, no more staring at each other across the table.
So why do you think dancing is so significant?
Well, I think it helps break down those physical barriers.
Okay.
It creates a sense of playfulness and connection.
Yeah.
And it's all happening on a nonverbal level.
Right. It's not just about talking.
It injects this energy and excitement into the date.
Okay.
Which can really help spark those initial feelings of attraction.
I see what you mean. It's like you're creating this more dynamic experience.
Exactly. It's not just about sitting there talking.
And he recommends saving alcohol for later venues, right?
He does, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's a smart strategy, especially in those early stages.
Okay.
When you're just getting to know someone.
Right.
It helps keep the focus on that genuine connection.
Yeah.
And clear communication.
It's about being present.
Absolutely.
Not like relying on alcohol as a crutch.
Right, or ending up with those awkward alcohol-fueled blunders.
Oh, yeah. We've all seen those.
We've all been there.
Maybe the blunder ourselves.
Maybe, yeah.
So let's say the date is going, well, conversation is flowing.
Okay.
How do you move beyond the small talk?
Yes. The transition to more meaningful topics.
Right.
So he recommends that as the date progresses,
Yeah.
you shift from those initial pleasantries to something more substantial. And he suggests taking the lead by sharing about yourself first.
So opening up.
Exactly, being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Talking about your past experiences, your passions, things that really matter to you.
I feel like this goes back to that idea of men taking the lead.
It does.
But again, not in a controlling way.
Right.
It's more about setting the tone.
Exactly. Creating that space for vulnerability.
Okay.
And encouraging a deeper level of sharing.
And you're kind of modeling that behavior.
Absolutely. You're saying, hey, I'm willing to be real with you.
Right.
Hopefully you'll be real with me too.
It creates that sense of trust.
Exactly.
And it feels more like a balanced exchange.
Yeah. Right. It's not an interrogation.
Yeah, not a job interview.
Exactly.
So you're really getting to know each other.
You're moving beyond those surface level questions.
Yeah, you're getting to the good stuff.
The good stuff.
All right, so we talked about dealing with flakes.
Yep.
Setting up the date, choosing activities, having those deeper conversations.
Money conversations.
Yes. All the important things.
Yeah.
What's your biggest takeaway from all of this?
It really boils down to authenticity, intentionality, and respect.
Okay.
Throughout the entire dating process.
So like showing up as your genuine self.
Exactly.
Being clear about your intentions. Treating others with kindness and consideration.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really powerful message.
Yeah, it's about shifting the focus from winning the game to actually building those meaningful connections.
Based on mutual respect and shared values.
Exactly.
And I like that while he offers these practical strategies, he also acknowledges that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Absolutely. Everyone's different. So you got to find your own style.
Your own intuition.
As you gain experience.
Right. So it's about being open to learning.
Yeah.
Experimenting.
Trying new things.
Seeing what works for you.
Exactly.
And I think it's interesting because while his book primarily focuses on heterosexual dating dynamics, I think a lot of these core principles, like the authenticity, the respect, the clear communication, are universally applicable.
You're absolutely right.
But it does raise some interesting questions.
It does.
About how these strategies might be adapted.
Yeah, for different types of relationships.
Right, because he focuses so much on, men taking the lead.
Right.
So how does that translate to same-sex dating?
That's a great question.
Or relationships where gender roles are less traditional?
It definitely challenges us to think beyond those prescriptive roles.
Right.
And consider how those principles might adapt.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, maybe it's less about adhering to those rigid gender roles.
Okay.
And more about finding a balance
of
initiative and receptivity.
Regardless of gender.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, so both partners can contribute. To creating that dynamic and fulfilling connection.
So it's about both people feeling empowered.
Absolutely.
To express their interest, communicate their needs, and really shape the direction of the relationship.
It's a collaborative effort.
It's not about one person dictating everything.
Exactly.
It's about finding that balance.
Finding what works for that unique relationship.
Respecting each other's preferences.
Absolutely.
Creating a dynamic that feels authentic and empowering.
For both partners.
For both partners.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Mark Manson's models, what's the key message you hope our listener takes away from this?
At the end of the day, I think it's not Dating doesn't have to be this game to be won or lost.
It's not about keeping score.
Exactly. It's about approaching the process with authenticity, intention, and respect.
Yeah.
Being true to yourself, communicating your needs clearly, and treating others with that same kindness and consideration that you'd hope to receive.
I couldn't agree more. And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Absolutely not.
The key is to find what feels authentic and fulfilling for you.
Exactly what works for one person might not work for another.
Right. So as you gain experience, learn from each interaction, you'll develop your own style, your own intuition.
Absolutely.
So embrace the journey, experiment, have fun.
Have fun.
Dating should be enjoyable.
It should be.
It shouldn't be stressful.
No, it's not a performance.
It's not a quest for validation.
Right.
It's about connection.
Connection and compatibility.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Right.
It really does make you think about how these ideas apply to different dynamics.
Right. Like, how would this work in same-sex dating?
Exactly.
Or when those traditional gender roles kind of go out the window.
Right. You know, maybe it's not so much about sticking to those roles.
Okay.
But more about finding that balance
Yeah.
of initiative and receptivity.
So it's not about who's supposed to do what.
Exactly.
It's more about both people feeling empowered.
Yeah, being able to express their interest.
Right. Communicate what they need.
And both people can actively shape the direction of the relationship.
So it's a true partnership.
A collaboration.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point to kind of wrap up on.
Yeah.
So as we finish our deep dive into Mark Manson's models,
Right.
what's the one thing you want our listener to walk away with today?
You know, I think the biggest takeaway is that dating doesn't have to be this game, you know, where you're trying to win or avoid losing.
Yeah, it's not about keeping score.
Exactly. It's about approaching the whole thing with authenticity and intention and respect.
Put yourself out there.
Yeah, and communicate clearly.
And treat others the way you want to be treated.
Exactly.
Like the golden rule of dating.
It really is.
And we should say again, there's no one right way to do this.
Absolutely not.
The key is to find what feels right for you.
What feels authentic and fulfilling.
So as you go out there and have more experiences, you'll start to learn what works and what doesn't.
You'll develop your own style.
So just embrace the journey. Have fun, experiment.
Exactly.
Enjoy the process.
Dating shouldn't feel stressful.
It shouldn't.
It's not a performance.
Right. You're not trying out for a role.
Yeah, it's all about connection.
Finding that compatibility.
Thanks for tuning in to Sam's Summaries. If you found this episode useful, let us know with a like, follow, and share. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to visit samfury.com to get free access to all of Sam's original summaries, which you can download as PDFs, as well as other exclusive content. It's all completely free at samfury.com.